Welcome back to Chatter's Restaurant and Bar in Pittsburgh and the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomchek along with the coach, and that was the first touchdown of the game for Pitt State the other night, and that was a beautiful play call, and we'll talk about that. Gorillas 49-7 over William Jewell, having some giveaways this year during our Coach Beck Show, courtesy of Chatters and Fat Daddies, and we'll do a free breakfast here at Fat Daddies. Dine-in only, includes drinks. It expires at the end of the calendar year. Coach Beck's going to make everybody sick, drawn out of the bucket. Teresa Noyes, come on down. Take the take the cough and cold with you, Coach. Yeah, you watch that yellow paper there. But, all right, be sure and you sign up if you just came in, and we'll have a couple of drawings a little bit later out of those breaks. Coach, you win a coin toss the other night, and that's always a good thing. Obviously, it doesn't guarantee anything in the long run, but you like to have that option in the second half. How, I don't know if comforting or whatever the right word, but doesn't hurt, I guess, to win the coin toss.
Yeah, that's what we prefer to do. But, if the other thing happens, we'll go out offensively. You got to go out and get field position then. But, it's kind of nice to put our defense out there. And, what really is good is you go out there and get a 3 and out, get great field position, go score. Then you feel like you've really got some really good momentum and kind of have an advantage at that point.
Well, that didn't quite happen. Jewell had a pretty nice little drive, actually, an 8-play drive, 3 first downs. They would end up having to punt, and their punter didn't have a great night, and he did have to punt into the wind. But you looked at that, and the first thing was their running back, 5'11", 215. I think their problem is they need to probably get better up front, but he's a back that he'll hide back there and runs hard.
Yeah, he did a nice job, and they set some things up very nice. Coach Majors did a good job of getting some things set up for him, and he did run hard. He kind of fielded his way a few times and was patient and was able to pick up a few yards that way.
You mentioned Ryan Majors, their offensive coordinator, his brother, of course, Andy, that played here and worked with us, and then Ryan was a GA here before going on to Shawnee Mission North. As you get to know guys, what's that like to be across the sideline from guys you know pretty well?
Well, it's different. It's really tough with some of the guys that you spend a lot of time with in coaching, and now you're going against them. And, it's kind of like you want to beat everybody, but when you go against your buddy or, going against your brother or something like that, you really want to win. There's no question about that. So it makes it intense, and, it makes it tough because they are good people and they're working hard to do the same things that you're doing. But on the other hand, you want to make sure you win. I told Ryan before the game, I said I knew his mom and dad would be coming down. I said, surely they're not going to come into this stadium wearing William Jewell stuff. He said, well, I think they are, but that's it's stuff like that that's neat. But yeah, you definitely want to do whatever you can to win the game.
Well, in his case, blood is thicker than water. But you look at that. On the other hand of that whole scenario, you look at him doing well. Craig Sherg at Washburn, Chris Brown's out at Hayes. You told me Jay Nunez is a GA up at Minnesota. How neat is it as a coach to see former players or young coaches move on and do some good things? Well,
I think here at Pittsburgh State, that's one thing that we're really proud of is we have a lot of coaches out in the coaching field at a lot of different levels. And, it's getting tougher and tougher to get those coaching jobs and to keep that going and keep all the former Pittsburgh State Gorillas, whether they played here or didn't play here, that's beside the point, but it's really neat to have all those connections throughout the country. We have a lot of guys, all over the country,
yeah,
which is a really neat thing.
Yeah, the clinic this past summer was an awesome display of that with some of the guys that were able to come back. So William Jewell gets the ball at their own 16, end up punting it, only a 33-yard punt, an 11-yard return. Kickoff returns were not big the other night, didn't have the opportunity. Punt return game was pretty good, and we see John Brown, you had John Thomas back there once, and Bryant Sanchez, a fair catch, but John Brown, we talk about getting a first down, and, he's between 10 and 15 yards consistently for you.
Yeah, and it was really tough for him to get a good return the other night. He had the one good one that bounced, and then he picked it up and ran down our sideline. But it was hard because the punter, was punting in the wind, and you didn't know for sure exactly where to put him. And he had shown on video to really kick the ball hard right to left, from the offensive point of view. And so we were trying to move him around, get him in the right position, like to get him to catch it in the air and then be ready to motor. But just didn't get a great chance to show what he could do the other night. But, people are aware of him, and people are aware of John Thomas as well because of the kickoff return last week. And so we feel pretty good about our return game.
And that was an amazing return on your sideline. That ball hit twice, and it looked like he had about 3 feet inbounds, and yet he still makes 2 guys miss. That you love to have those kids. How much of that are certain things you just can't coach?
Well, you're picking up an extra first down that you don't have to deal with, number one. And, And, you know, I still didn't think they got him out of bounds. I was standing right there, and I think he could still be running right now. He tight-roped it pretty good. And you know, about the time the guy thought he was going to cut it right back across the field, he wiggled it right up the sideline. So, you know, those kind of guys are special, and we're very fortunate to have him here.
Well, your opening drive was nice. 6 plays, 74 yards, a little over 12 yards a pop, but kind of a long drive for you guys, 2 minutes and 57 seconds. But you end up scoring on that run by Zach. I thought it was a great play call, but what sets that up, I mean, I thought your O-line was knocking them off the ball, tackle to tackle pretty good.
Yeah, they really were. And really the last 2 weeks, our offensive line, I mean, even against Truman, it didn't appear that way because of the way the game went. But the last 2 weeks, our offensive line has really grown as a group and continued to improve. And we're getting after it pretty good in between the tackles right now.
William Jewell was a 3-man front. Talk about dealing with that as opposed to a 4-man that you see most of the time.
Yeah, it was a change for us. And you see most 4-man teams will run a little bit of 3-man stuff when you get to 3rd and longs. But this is a group that started out in 30-man front. So changes your blocking schemes a little bit. Really is concerning if you have a really big, strong, aggressive guy at the nose, you know, having a redshirt freshman at the center spot. But, you know, Tyler's, again, he's still a redshirt freshman, and he'll get better and better as we go. His snaps were better than they were at Truman. I mean, they were still hard and fast. Zach's kind of got to be on his toes, which that's probably a good thing. But, you know, he'll continue to grow as an offensive lineman, and before it's all over, he'll be a great player.
You know, we talked to him on postgame. BJ talked to him from the field as part of our players of the game coverage because it was such a good night running the ball. He was, I think, pretty excited to be on it, like he didn't lack confidence. But you look at a kid like that coming of age and a couple of snaps here and there. But, boy, with his size and that, it seems like there's a lot of upside.
Huge upside. And, you know, he's a 290-pound redshirt freshman, and I think he can play either one of the 3 position centers or either one of the guard positions. And so, you know, down the road, that'll give us some flexibility in the offensive line.
Well, it was a good night as you end up averaging 8.1 per carry. And we were just talking on the broadcast about Bryson Wilson. It just lowered his shoulder the previous carry, and it was about a 3-yard gain. Those can be effective. And then talk about the call there that gets Zach on the edge.
Well, the first touchdown.
Yes.
First touchdown, I believe we ran the fake reverse.
Yeah, fake the pitch. Yeah.
Faked it, and we'd run the reverse a couple of times to John, and so it was a play where the tailback doesn't stay in pitch relationship. He's going to go block the play side linebacker. We had a good block by Bryson, and the guard does a good job of pulling and kicking out the support guy, and gave a little fake to the John going the other way. Now the neat part about the whole thing is we have our center haul reverse. After about a second or second and a half, our center haulers reverse, which a lot of times will freeze the free safety or, you know, get them to move a couple steps the other way, which helps it a little bit.
Yeah, a little wrinkle in there for that. So that's good to throw that voice or whatever. Well, you end up scoring with the extra point at 7-0 quickly. Good flow to the game. Then you do get a 3-and-out, and then another beautiful drive. 6 plays, 5 first downs in 5 plays before the touchdown, and 3:16 off the clock. Bryson ends up smashing it in from a yard out, but back-to-back drives like that, how pleasing is that to start a game?
Well, absolutely. You feel like you're being efficient offensively. You're taking care of the ball. You're able to put some things together. We would have liked to maybe thrown a little bit more, but on the other hand, too, early in the game with the 3-man front, we just felt like they would have a hard time handling some of the stuff that we do running in between the tackles. So it was important to get all that established early on. You
know, that's a great point about running the ball. Makes you such a better passing team in most cases. I think K-State's a good example of that. Their guy's not a great passer, but he was efficient the other day. How tough is it? There are different games, and maybe this Saturday's one of them. If you can run the ball effectively, how tough is it to avoid the temptation to pass it?
Well, it's tough. It's really tough, especially when we've got 2 or 3 receivers, you know, that we'd like to throw the ball deep with them. And so you really got to pick your – you decide what you're going to do, because it's in a game like this against Northwest, it'll be so important to be good on first downs. And, you know, you take a chance of throwing an incompletion and being in 2nd and 10. And then what we don't want to be in is we don't want to be in 3rd and 10. So first downs are extremely important. Being efficient throwing the football will be a huge factor in the game.
Well, before and after your second touchdown, you get 3-and-outs. And Jewell's a play-action type team, but obviously your D-line had a nice night with 7 sacks. But I don't know how many hurries Gus Toka had on top of a couple of sacks. But just talk about your D-line against them. It didn't seem like your play-action bothered your front at all.
Well, it really didn't. You know, we're going to play hard and fast up front, so we're going to get off the football. Now, we may run up past something every once in a while, but that's okay. We'll have a little give and take there. But, boy, it's nice to see Gus chasing the guy down from the backside, coming with that karate chop, across the guy's arm and see the ball pop out there. And it just looks like you see on Sundays, it's those defensive ends that have those speed rushes. And, Gus Toka, Spencer Worthington, there's a lot of those guys. They've got a good speed rush, which makes it hard on offensive tackles. We go against them in practice, so we know, we can see that.
You look at, I was looking earlier today, and the number of sacks you have, that's all very important right now. But how tough is it for those guys? Because you do play a lot of teams that are in shotgun and get rid of the ball quickly.
Well, when you get to those teams, it's really frustrating as a defensive lineman. That's one of the reasons we've tried to continue to get good depth at the defensive end and defensive tackle position, because when you go against a Central Missouri who's going to throw it 55, 60 times, you've got to be able to rotate those guys, because the next thing you know, as a defensive end, you'll rush, you take 2 steps, ball's gone, take 2 steps, the ball's gone. So you end up becoming a little complacent. So what Coach Helwig and Coach Egwall have done is they've got those guys playing at a very fast pace, and they rotate them in and out and keep them fresh.
Well, it's effective right now, and the Gorillas do a great job of that. And, a threat will get stalled there early in the second quarter. You're knocking on the door, throw an interception at the goal line, and it just looked like a seam route where they just sit back in the zone and cut in front of it. Yeah,
we just didn't get rid of the ball fast enough. And it's one of those things it's the same route that we threw at home against Emporia for a touchdown. We were a little further out at that time.
Yeah.
But, we faked a little screen to the outside receiver, which pulls everybody forward. And then you got to stick it on him. The field was compressed down because we were close enough. And so you hold the ball too long, and then the backside safety can get there. And if we just throw it just a little bit early, it's a touchdown.
Well, that would stall that drive, but Pitt State's defense would still rise the rest of the half, and we'll talk about that and more. We need to take another break. When we come back, we'll wrap up that first half. It was a 21-0 locker room lead for the Gorillas. That and more when we return on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric.